Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the Weekend Wellness Hour show. I am very excited to have Dr. Alicia Shelly come on and speak to us about weight loss in general and how to improve that journey for yourself. I had met her on a Facebook group and I saw kind of her credentials and what she's doing. So I was very excited to have her on. And thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Shelly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much for having me on your wellness hour.
So I know you're a board certified physician in internal medicine and obesity medicine. I'm curious, how did you get into that? And also, I know you're in Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, but how did you get into that world and why is that important for you?
Oh, yeah. So originally I was internal medicine, primary care, and I had been
Okay.
doing that for several years. But then I realized that a lot of my patients really want to know, like, what can I do about my weight? And even though we may be in for a regular follow up or even a physical, they will turn the question into, hey, I'm gaining weight. What can I do?
Mhm.
And so I realized that, when it comes to obesity medicine, that's not something that's really taught in medical school.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe not, hopefully now we're changing it. But
Yeah.
before, it wasn't something that you're taught. You're just taught, okay, lose weight by just, eating less and exercising more. But what studies are showing is that obesity is a chronic disease. So this
Okay.
is something where you can have phases where you can lose weight, but then relapse and lose weight and relapse. And so just like with high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, it's something you have to monitor. And it's
Okay.
more than just like, okay, eat less and exercise more, because there's
Mhm.
multiple reasons why people actually gain weight. It can be
Yeah.
genetics. It can be a
Mhm.
medical condition like a hypothyroidism or a thyroid disorder. It
Mhm.
can be PCOS that women have that make it easier for them to gain weight. It can be
Mhm.
behavioral depression, anxiety. These are different things that can contribute to weight gain. And so by having that full picture, it actually helped me to be able to help my patients. On top of that, I had struggled with my weight my
Mhm.
entire life. And
Oh.
so I needed help, not only to help me figure out what's wrong, because I'm like, well, I'm exercising, I'm eating right, I'm writing down all the calories, but the
Mhm.
pounds are not losing, like the weight's not coming off. What's going on? And
Yeah.
so I was very interested in it. I actually am board certified in obesity medicine.
Oh.
A diplomat of the American Board of Obesity Medicine.
Mm.
And there's just always so much. Like when I started, there was a few medications that we could use to help people with losing weight, but
Mhm.
now the field has just exploded. And so there's so many
Yeah.
new medications that are helping people kind of get to their goal weight and be able to maintain.
And that's really interesting. So when you talk about using different medications, do you use it and you have to keep using it, or is it to instigate the weight loss as you're making some changes in other aspects of health to then they can wean off the medications, or how does that work? Or is it different for
So how
everyone?
I like to use it is
Mhm.
I use it more of, definitely it's a way of getting started with your weight loss.
Mhm.
I honestly, when I see my patients in my clinic, I like to give them an individualized approach, because there's some
Yeah.
patients who really don't want medications, and that's
Mhm.
okay. We'll just focus
Yeah.
on the weight loss, on lifestyle changes, excuse me.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
what we found is that with lifestyle changes, you're losing on average 5 to 10% of your weight. With
Yeah.
medications, it used to be 10 to 15%. And then with bariatric surgery, now you're getting into 25 to 30%.
Mhm.
Now we're having medications that are coming out, or hopefully be coming out next year, that
Mhm.
people are losing 20 to 25%, which is very similar to bariatric surgery, without
Wow.
having to go through the surgery. So it's actually,
Yeah.
it's I say I'm excited because there's a
Yeah.
lot going on. But when I look at that person and we have that discussion, we decide kind of what's best fits them.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so with that, so let's say they decide they want to do medications. So we'll
Mhm.
do medications and we'll get you to your goal weight. But then
Mhm.
once you're getting there, we have a way of monitoring and kind of weaning you off the medication and seeing if, with the lifestyle changes that you've been
Okay.
implementing throughout, because it's a whole
Yeah.
comprehensive, multi-dimensional
Yeah.
a field. So it's not
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
okay, you take medications and you don't
Mhm.
do anything. No, no, no.
Right.
You have
Yeah.
to be implementing those healthy
Okay.
habits. And
Good.
so we push that a lot so that people can implement those so that it's your lifestyle, that this is
Yeah.
what you do. And then once you get to that maintenance phase, we start to taper off the medication. However,
Mhm.
you're still monitoring. You're still kind
Okay.
of saying, you're weighing yourself, you're watching what you're eating, you're making sure
Mhm.
you're physically active. And then if you're starting to see that weight creep back up, because even like with high blood pressure or diabetes, you can control it with diet. But if for some reason you start getting off of your healthy habits and the weight starts coming up, then we can implement the medication again to get you back down. So
Gotcha.
that's how I use it. I can't
Mhm.
say it's something you have to be on forever, but
Mhm.
definitely we want to make sure that you have something in the event the weight starts to creep up, because with obesity, like I mentioned before, it's very easy to kind of come back with your weight, especially if
Mhm.
other priorities, come in your life. So,
Absolutely. And so something that I kind of want you mentioned, so when you're doing the medication approach versus bariatric surgery, is your stomach shrinking in size so it's becoming, you know how in bariatric surgery they kind of staple it or you do something to it to change the size. As you're reducing your food intake by using the medication and um, you're dropping weight, are your is your digestive tract changing as well?
so no, not
Okay.
in the same way as bariatric surgery.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
the most common procedure of bariatric surgery is your sleeve gastrectomy and your gastric
Mhm.
bypass. And the
Mhm.
sleeve gastrectomy, they're removing a good 80% of your stomach. So you have like a
Oh,
little banana sized stomach.
yeah.
um, and so even if you, and with the gastric bypass, they're creating a little small pouch within the
Mhm.
stomach. So it's still very small. But
Mhm.
even with your like with losing weight with medications, your stomach size is not necessarily changing.
Okay.
Definitely depending on the way because there are different medications that are out there.
Okay.
So they definitely do help with either they are hitting the appetite center or they're slowing down your gut so you're not as hungry, depending on
God.
the medication. And so your stomach, your body's getting used to eating less, but the
Okay.
size, the actual structure of the stomach has not changed. So you're
Got it.
never going to get to that banana size as in the sleep
Mhm.
gastrectomy with medication.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So and I can see why when people start to wean off of it with what you're talking about, they would definitely need to monitor to make sure they're staying in check with their new habits. I can see that. Yeah.
And those habits are going to be so important.
Yeah.
So we should, as people, we should continue to kind of keep implementing your healthy habits, because that's your lifestyle going forward. Like
Okay.
this is when I approach weight loss,
Yeah.
it's not just, oh, we're going to do this diet for a moment. This is a lifestyle change. This is what we're trying
Yeah.
to continue and to monitor long term.
God, that's great. Can we go through some of those lifestyle changes that you focus on, the different aspects, just generally, so that way people kind of know
Oh
what they need
yeah,
to be looking at?
definitely. So I would say the most common two, well, I actually like to look at 5 areas, and
Okay.
that's with nutrition,
Mhm.
exercise, or I like to say physical activity, because some people
Mhm.
do not like exercise. And so that
Yeah.
word is like, so we'll
Yeah.
just say physical activity for right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
So nutrition, physical activity, sleep,
Okay.
stress is important. So kind of focusing on that. And then my last one is mindset. So
Okay.
those are going to be the 5 that we talk about.
Mhm.
Let's start with nutrition.
Sure.
So there are healthy principles that you should implement. When
Mhm.
it comes to different diets, there's so many diets out there,
Okay.
so many diets. And so I always say the best diet for you is the diet you can stick with.
Okay.
So if you are not one that likes a low carb diet because you get hangry and you're just irritable all the time, low carb's not for you. so,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
don't do it, because you're not going to be able to maintain it long term. So
Mhm.
focus on a nutritional plan that works for your lifestyle.
Okay.
If you like fruits and vegetables, then maybe incorporating more of a Mediterranean diet or a
Mhm.
plant-based diet may be more likely for you.
Yeah.
My mother,
Mhm.
who was pre-diabetic, went to the keto diet, but she
Okay.
really enjoys fruits and vegetables. And and it
Oh,
made it so hard for her doing this diet because she was like, but I really like some cabbage. I really like this. And she
yeah.
can't have it. And
Oh,
so eventually she did lose weight initially,
mhm.
but what happened was she eventually gained the weight back because she
Yeah.
couldn't maintain it. So it's
Yeah.
so important to find a nutritional plan that works for you. And it may not be a specific diet. You may be able to customize something that works for you.
Mhm.
And so with that being said, let's talk about some healthy principles that you should implement regardless of whatever you decide to do.
Yeah.
Number one, you really want to focus on less processed foods. So
Mhm.
I know it sounds crazy. We're like, what do you mean processed? I mean, I'm talking about even like the processed TV dinners. I'm talking about like if you look at an apple, a regular apple that you get from the grocery store,
Mhm.
is fresh. It's
Mhm.
natural. It's in its natural state. You can take this apple, you can grind it down, and you can make applesauce. You can put some sugar in it, make it applesauce, not in natural state, a little bit more processed, but you can take that applesauce or that same apple and then you can make gummy bears. Very,
Mhm.
very ultra processed
Yeah.
because you have
Yeah.
a lot more ingredients, a
Mhm.
lot more things that you do not understand on that label.
Mhm.
So you want to focus on more natural foods, regardless of whatever nutritional diet. They've done studies looking at processed foods, and what
Mhm.
they found was that they put a group of people in a hotel and they gave them initially processed foods and
Okay.
the same amount of calories, but they were more
Nice.
processed. They had more
Mhm.
ingredients in it. People liked it. The taste was great, but
Yeah.
they gradually started gaining weight. And then
Yeah.
they switched it to
Mhm.
unprocessed foods, same amount of calories, taste was
Wow.
okay, but
Mhm.
then they gradually lost weight. And so
Jeez.
processed foods is major. It's important.
Wow.
So trying to focus on your process. It's kind of funny. I have patients that are like, I went on vacation and I went to a different country and I lost weight. Somebody else goes to an American country, American state, a different state, and they gain weight. What's the
Mhm.
difference? It's the quality of food that they're eating, the quality of
Yeah.
food. Because when you're going maybe to the Caribbean or if you're going overseas, they're bringing that food from the farm. So it's like farm
Yeah.
to table. And so
Yeah.
the quality of it is much better than
Mhm.
sometimes what we eat here in America. I know, I'm sorry. I went on a really long tangent.
No, it's so important, and that's exactly true. I hear that all the time. People go on some exotic vacation, they eat more than they normally do, and they lose 5 pounds. You hear that all the time. So, very valid point, thank you.
Yeah, so definitely processed food. If I
Yeah.
did not
Mhm.
if I didn't nail the coffin on that one.
Yes.
But the other principle I would also recommend is water. Water,
Mhm.
water. A lot of people don't like the taste of water, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But you can actually drink things that maybe like you have sparkling water, or you can
Mhm.
actually infuse your water with like Crystal Light, with fruit, something like that. So it has a little bit of a taste. But the
Mhm.
water there's so many benefits to water. Number one, it cleans you out. Number
Yeah.
one, you're actually, if you have acne, it cleans out the acne, it cleans out the impurities.
Okay.
Your body is regulated because your body actually needs water. It
Mhm.
can improve constipation because your body will take the water that it needs from your gut and leave you with
Mhm.
everything else. And if you're not drinking water, you're experiencing constipation. So it's important to have more
Mhm.
water. Also,
Got it.
because it's 0 calories, a majority of it, people don't realize they get full because they're
Yeah.
drinking water. And so you're actually eating less calories because you're drinking that water.
Yeah.
Now, some people say, well, doc, I drink diet soda. And as we all know, diet soda has 0 calories.
Mhm.
However, it also has artificial sugar.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it 0 calories.
Yeah.
Even though it's artificial sugar, your body doesn't know it's artificial sugar. And so it processes it the same as regular sugar. And what happens is that your body likes the taste. And so you
Mhm.
start to crave more sugar or more carbs. So you may find, I don't know why I'm craving more
Okay.
cookies and cakes and things of that nature. Aha, it could be that you're drinking too much of the diet artificial sugar,
Makes
um,
sense.
artificial soda, excuse me.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it is important to kind of make sure you're drinking water.
Mhm.
Some people drink like a 1 liter or 1 gallon of water a day. That's fine. Depending on your medical conditions, you do want to touch base with your doctor, but as long as you're getting in that 64 to 1 gallon is 64 ounces
Okay.
to 1 liter, that's
Mhm.
fine too.
Okay. That's
Um,
great.
so I would say those are some of the principles,
Mhm.
the healthy principles that I would say
Yeah.
you incorporate.
Yeah.
Also finding, like I said, a diet that works for you.
Mhm.
Limiting, having more complex carbs would be
Okay.
my also suggestion. And when I mean
Mhm.
complex carbs, I'm talking about fruit. I'm talking about, whole bread. I'm talking about,
Mhm.
whole grains. These
Yes.
so important. These are so important. Why? Because it takes longer for your body to process them and to
Mhm.
digest. So you're more full, you don't feel as hungry. Also, when you're eating the simple sugars, like your cookies, your cakes,
Yeah.
these are processed rather quickly and you get this high, like the sugar high, the sugar rush. And
Mhm.
so it just gets processed more quickly and it actually be probably more calories too. So I recommend more complex carbs. So I'll leave you with those three principles,
Okay.
healthy principles. I
Those are
know it's
great.
a lot.
No, this is great. We need it right now, right before the holidays too. So this is good.
Exactly, exactly. And we're going to talk more about like what are some tips we can use for the holidays because
Sure.
it's very interesting. Okay, I go on a tangent, but here we go.
Uh-huh.
When we look at the Thanksgiving table, a lot of the
Mhm.
stuff that we cook have a lot of starches, a lot of carbs, our
Yeah.
mac and cheese, our mashed potatoes,
Mhm.
we don't have as many vegetables as we should.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so definitely if you're the one that's planning Thanksgiving dinner, you can add some more vegetables.
Yes. Yes.
um,
Wonderful.
so the other principle, so we talked about a
Yeah.
healthy diet, right?
Right.
Thing is going to be physical activity.
Okay.
Physical activity. So studies have looked at people to see like how much, what is the recommended minutes people should do for physical activity.
Mhm.
So for general health benefit, you should be exercising at least 150 minutes per week. That's 30
Yeah.
minutes, 5 days out the week
Mhm. Yeah.
and with 2 days of strength training. And that's just for general health. This helps with you
Yeah.
kind of staying fit, maintaining your weight. It helps with toning muscles, building bone strength. So it really, really helps. However, when we do studies, a lot of people, like 24% of people, are not getting that same general benefit. And there's many reasons why.
Mhm.
I think the biggest reason that I see is time.
Mhm.
Schedules.
Yeah.
We have so much we're doing right now. If you're a busy mom, busy dad, you're trying to take care of your kids, you're trying to work full time,
Mhm.
you get home, you're just so tired. All you want to do is sit there, maybe watch TV, veg out, go to bed and do it again.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's really, really difficult. And
Mhm.
so the schedule is difficult too. And a lot of times, if you are the other obstacle that I see is that if you're walking at work or you're lifting at work, you're more physical at work,
Yeah.
construction worker. Sometimes you're just so tired. You're like, well, I exercise at work. That should be enough.
Mhm.
Our body gets used to that, and
Yeah.
it's considered non-exertion. Even though you're
Yeah.
walking, you're not walking at a space where you're sweating or that you're not able to have a conversation
Yeah.
because you're just walking for work. You're just walking,
Right.
you're getting your steps in, but it's just not enough. And so what
Right.
we find is that people get frustrated because they're like, well, I'm walking so much. I do 10,000 steps, but I'm not
Yeah.
losing weight. It's because you need to have some intentional exercise
Yeah.
you're setting aside. Now, the one thing that the recommendations, the guidelines are, is that they just give us the amount of minutes. So a lot of
Mhm.
times, the type of exercise, you can decide what works for you. So the
Mhm.
third obstacle that I have is that people hate exercise. Like
Yes.
it. They hate exercise altogether.
Mhm.
And so my suggestion for that is basically finding something you enjoy or hate the
Mhm.
least.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Walking, whether it's like, hey, I'm going out with friends, we're gonna go dancing, we're gonna go
Yeah.
and do chair exercises,
Mhm.
whatever it is, as long as you like it and you're able to maintain and it's doable for you,
Mhm.
you can be able to maintain it.
Yeah.
So that would be my third obstacle. The other thing I would say is make exercise fun. Make
Okay.
exercise
Yeah.
Oh, and there's ways you can make it fun. Like I had one client at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m., she would get on a Zoom call with all her relatives, like, her friends and relatives. It's like, hey, meet me at 5 o'clock. We're going to do some type of exercise. And they would all do different exercises in their own home, but they would just meet together. They would talk about the day, they would decompress, but they're still working out at the same time. And so sometimes you may need to have a friend that walks with you, or you may want to go to the gym with a partner or have accountability partner who's able to kind of help with making this fun and making it more of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that I would say with exercise. The other thing I want to add to exercise, for general health benefit, it's 150 minutes per week. But if you're trying to lose weight, then the time goes up. So now we're in 200 to 300 minutes per week. And the reason being is that as you lose weight, your body needs more exercise in order to continue to lose weight. Your body, your energy expenditure is decreased as you lose weight. So you have to keep it higher. So that's why some people are like, nothing has changed. I'm eating right, I'm exercising or doing physical activity the same amount of time, but I'm not losing weight. It's because your body doesn't need as much energy. So you have to kind of exercise more to kind of overcome
that. That makes sense. Yeah.
So, that's physical activity. So make it, my tips for that is make it fun, find something you enjoy, and then just get started. Just get started. Yeah. And it's okay to start off with like 10 minutes, bouts of 10 minutes. Like you don't have to, you don't have to like 30 minutes to 1 hour, 2 hours. No, work your way up. And so sometimes for those people that don't have time, do 10-minute bouts. Do 10 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at lunch, 10 minutes in the evening, bam, 30 minutes done.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Yeah. That's great.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say it's great. And I know we didn't talk about this, but I know you're training for your first full Ironman. So you know very well what to do with exercise, and you've completed 6 marathons and you've done a half Ironman. So I know you know your stuff. So I'm just sharing that so other people can drop their jaw and say, oh, we get it.
And one thing I want to mention about that too is that I wasn't one who was athletic growing up. Like literally, I got kicked off the volleyball team, the basketball team. Like I was not athletic, but and I actually only started doing a marathon. Actually, not even a marathon. I started with a couch to 5K app.
Yay.
So 2016. So I'm telling you, you don't have to be athletic. You find something you enjoy and then start slow and just work your way up. Yeah. So I started from a 5K started from the couch in 2016. And now we have 7 years? My math is gone. So we have 8 years later, now I'm doing Ironman. But I'll be honest with you, if you told me 8 years ago that, you're going to be doing an Ironman in 8 years, I would have been like, I think you have the wrong person.
Yes, you can completely change your identity. It's just literally it's one step at a time. So this is great.
Exactly. One step at a time. You can do this, but just keep moving forward and make the small choices. Make the small choices.
Absolutely.
So we talked about healthy nutritional plan, exercise. Let's talk about sleep.
Yes, important.
So it's so funny that a lot of people aren't getting enough rest. And there's many reasons. Some people can't sleep, they have insomnia, it's very difficult. Other people, you may have kids that kind of get in the bed and before you know it, they're kicking you and your husband's kicking you and you're just, I don't know why I can't rest. I have no room in my bed. But then other times people are like staying up late. They have multiple jobs. They may be in school full time. So there's reason why we're not. And then sometimes you're just like on the phone or you're watching TV and you're just not going to bed. But studies show that if you're getting less than 5 hours of rest, it actually affects you hormonally. So it actually increases your hunger hormone called ghrelin that goes up. So you're more hungry throughout the day. It decreases your leptin hormone, which is your satiety hormone. That's the hormone that tells you that you are full. And that goes down. So you're less full. So you're more hungry, less full. And then of course, you start to eat more because you're tired, you're trying to stay awake. You're like, oh, I got to stay awake. I eat more, I drink more
Okay.
caffeine. And before you know it, your weight starts to increase. Your
Yeah.
BMI increases.
Mhm.
It's very important to kind of get that rest, that you're fully rested, number one.
Yeah.
Your hormones are more imbalanced, and
Mhm.
you're not eating to stay awake. Like, how
Yeah.
many of us were like, oh, I gotta stay awake. Let me find something to eat to kind of keep my mind going. You know,
Mhm.
so we
Yeah.
all do it. We all do it, but
Yeah.
definitely it's good to be more mindful of
Yeah.
this. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. What is there a number that you would recommend for sleep hours per night, especially someone who's starting on a weight loss journey?
I would focus on 7 to 8 hours.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean, and even if you're not quite getting there, as long as
Mhm.
like I said, making the baby steps where you're like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to bed early, or I'm gonna try to, like, go to bed 30 minutes early and
Mhm.
then next week go to bed an hour early, so you could kind of get it in until your
Yeah.
body is used to sleeping that way. Because
Yeah.
what you'll find is when you wake up rested, you're like, oh, I can take over the world. I can go exercise. I'm not as tired because I'm
Yeah.
sleeping. Um,
Yeah.
and so it is, I would shoot for 7 to 8 hours. If definitely speak with your doctor if
Mhm.
people have commented that you're snoring more or you stop
Mhm.
breathing while you're while you're sleeping. I
Yes.
remember I was on the plane and the man next to me was snoring so loud. I had earplugs in. I wear earplugs. I could not sleep. And then I was like, I don't know how to tell you this, sir, but you need to talk to your doctor because you stopped breathing.
Hopefully he thanked you.
Yeah, well, we were going to LA, so he wasn't quite
I get it.
quite happy with me. But somebody needs to tell you, because if you live
Yeah.
alone, you know that you're snoring because
Yeah.
you're asleep.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're gasping, coughing, and you're like, I don't know what's going on, I'm just gasping for air, or waking you up gasping, then definitely you should talk with your doctor about getting a sleep study,
Yeah.
because sometimes we can have sleep apnea and not know it and just be
Mhm.
so exhausted when we wake up. Um,
Right.
some symptoms of sleep apnea are like, number one, you wake up not rested, even though you slept 7 to 8 hours, but you're like, why do I feel like I did nothing?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's important. If you're feeling like you're waking up with morning headaches,
Mhm.
if you are really sleepy throughout the day and you're like trying to take naps to kind of, wake yourself up, or if you're driving and all of a sudden you're like, like, you're dozing off while driving,
Mhm.
or then these are definitely symptoms that you should speak with your doctor about so that they can
Yeah.
give you the proper test. Mhm.
Okay. Wonderful.
And the one thing I say this is that if you do have sleep apnea, it is
Mhm.
important to treat it because it allows you to actually lose weight. When you don't
Okay.
treat sleep apnea, it can lead to high blood pressure. It can lead to pulmonary hypertension, which is extra pressure in the arteries that come from the lungs to the heart.
Mhm.
So, which
Yeah.
can lead to more complications down the road.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's great. And kind of tied in with this, which you mentioned is stress, right? Next
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah. So stress is important. Stress is so important because we stress ourselves out. The
Yes.
pot calling the kettle black. Like, really, you realize that the stress can really make a difference. And
Yeah.
studies have shown when you have chronic stress, where it's just day after day, month after month, year after year, this chronic stress, it actually increases your cortisol levels or your stress hormone, which leads to more fat deposits and weight gain. So it's really important that we do the best to manage our stress.
Mhm.
Also, it's important for us to find ways to de-stress, have ways to relax, ways to recover, have what we like to call self-care. A lot of
Mhm.
times we feel like, hey, I'm a parent, I'm a wife, I'm an employee, and I have so many people that I need to please. I don't have time for myself.
Yeah.
But we need to make that time because it's crucial in how, number one, our mental well-being, but then in number two, it's affecting our weight.
Yeah.
Because if we're not able to exercise because we're stressed out, or like or eat right because we're stressed out and we're emotionally eating,
Mhm.
it really plays a role. And so it's important
Yeah.
that we kind of have those moments for our self-care, because if we take care of ourselves, it's kind of like when you're in the airplane, they're like, hey, if the oxygen mask comes down, put the oxygen mask on your face first and then the child next to you. Why? Because if you try to do the child first, you may pass out
Yeah.
before you can help the child.
Mhm. Yep.
So you have to take care of yourself. You have to
Yeah.
find that time. It's so imperative that in order for you to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
find that. I always get a little nervous because I always ask people, what do you do to relax? And when somebody has like they don't have an answer for that, that tells me we have more work to do. We
Yeah.
have more work to do to
Yeah.
help with improving that stress level.
Yeah. And it's sad. A lot of people have no idea how to relax in their body. Even if it's outside activities, they have no idea what it feels like in their body to actually let go and relax. And that is so heartbreaking when I hear that.
It
Yeah.
is because you're just kind of stressed all the time. You're just tight,
Yeah.
and it's just such an awful feeling to always feel like I'm just completely wound up all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And it affects your relationships. It affects your
Mm.
relationships at work, your relationships at
Yeah.
home, because somebody can do one wrong thing and you go to 10, you're blowing up at it.
Yeah.
And so it really makes it really difficult to maintain those relationships because you're so tight.
Yeah.
And so
Makes
I
sense.
always recommend, they have different meditation apps, calm, things to kind of help with, breathing, to kind of help
Mm.
with reduction of it. Sometimes, anxiety is genetic. You see it runs in families. You may say your
Mhm.
mom has anxiety, your grandmother has anxiety. Of course you have anxiety. And so sometimes when it's more of a chronic problem for you, it is important to seek out therapy, to speak with your primary care,
Mhm.
because sometimes you do need medications to help bring you down so you're
Mhm.
able to respond to your day to day without
Yeah.
feeling so wound up.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. This is great. Yeah.
And last but not least, we have our mindset. I probably should have started off with mindset because that is so important. A lot of times especially if you're like myself, where you've gained weight, lost weight, gained weight, lost weight,
Mhm. Yeah.
when it's time to can make some healthy habits, you're in your head. You're like, you know what? I made a healthy habit the last time and it did not last. So I don't know if this is going to work out for me.
Mhm.
And so you can have all these negative thoughts. But in order, like I said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. This is a lifestyle change. And so a lot of times by focusing on the baby steps or on the small goals that you're trying to change in your healthy habits, it makes it easier for you. You're less stressed, you're less overwhelmed, and you are not as negative.
Yeah.
You're more able to be positive because you're seeing the change. You're seeing how things are changing in your body and you're having more energy.
Yeah.
But sometimes we allow our negative thoughts to get in the way and it stops us from being great, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's great because if you change your weight, but your mind hasn't caught up with it or gone along on the journey, those fears can come back, and it's so easy for your habits to go right back to where your mind was from before.
Exactly.
So,
Because
yeah.
it's like I give up. I'm going to go back to it's not worth it. I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes our mind plays tricks on us. So I had one patient, she was
Mhm.
70 years old, and her orthopedic doctor told her that in order for her to get back surgery, she had to
Mm.
lose 30 pounds. So in
Yeah.
her mind, she had to lose this 30 pounds in order to get back surgery. Funny thing is, she didn't know if she wanted back surgery, but eventually she was like, let's at least
Yeah.
work on losing 30
Yeah.
pounds. So she came
Mhm.
to me. We started making lifestyle changes. She did great. When she came back at her
Yeah.
follow-up appointment, she had lost 20 pounds. 20
Nice.
pounds. She was
Oh,
like 30, like what is it? Like 60%. My math is gone. For those people
yeah.
who are my
Yeah.
age, know what this is. She was like only 10 pounds away. Actually,
Yeah.
technically, she had lost more weight than because when she had come to me, she had started losing weight. So technically,
Okay.
she only had 7 pounds left to go. So she lost,
Wow.
let me get it right. She lost 23 pounds.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so she only had 7 pounds to go. But I walked in the room, I'm like, oh my gosh, congratulations, you lost.
Yeah.
And she looked at me, she's like, I wish I had lost more. I was like, man.
Ah!
You are number one, you're 70, your metabolism has decreased.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were able to lose 23 of the 30 pounds and you still had time before you saw the orthopedic
Mhm.
surgeon, before it's time for that
Yeah.
foster woman to continue to lose more. You're,
Yeah.
but she had in her mindset, I didn't lose the 30, so because I didn't lose 30, it's not good enough. And she had started to revert back
Mm.
her old habits. She's like, this is not worth anything. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
you're 7 pounds away. Keep
Yeah.
going. You're almost to the finish line. Don't stop now. So our mindset plays a huge role in how we
Yeah.
view things. I mean, our thoughts will affect how we feel, which then in turn affects our actions. And so studies show that when you have positive thoughts, it leads to more healthy behaviors, and it also suppresses the negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So it's really important. Now, if you're one of these people that are just naturally, the cup is half empty regardless, like
Yeah.
you just always been like this,
Yeah.
hard to be optimistic because you
Mhm.
always are kind of being like, well, what's really going to happen?
Yeah. Yes.
So, the one thing I always say is if you're not naturally optimistic, it's okay. You don't have to be. But some things that you can do is by having positive affirmations, positive thoughts. I sometimes have to write it on like a little card, put it at on my mirror where I brush my teeth so I can
Mhm.
be like, hey, you got this today. Because sometimes I wake up in a pessimistic mindset.
Yes.
Be something to remind yourself that yes, you can do this. Like this is not hard. You can do hard things. You can
Yeah.
make a change
Yeah.
because it's so important. We all have different reasons why we want to lose weight or why we want to be healthy. And just write down under that mantra what your why is. And so you
Yeah.
can keep reminding yourself why.
Yeah.
When I was training for the Ironman, I'm gonna be honest with you. I really just I don't want to say I dislike swimming. I just
Mhm.
don't like swimming.
Mhm.
In a pool because you're just going from one side to the next, one side
Yeah.
to the next. Just like, oh my goodness, when will
Mhm.
it end?
Yes.
so, so how I kind of got myself there, and I'll be honest with you, I had to give myself some mindset issues because I was like, oh, it would take me forever to get in the pool when I was supposed to go swimming.
Yeah.
But by having those positive mindsets, and I went back to why I was doing this, it helped me to get into the pool and to be able to swim. And
Yeah.
to tell you, I started swimming. I had to take a break after going to one side of the pool. That's how I started. I was not a strong swimmer, but now I can
Mhm.
go back for about at least a good 4,000 yards and
Good.
not be like, oh, what's gonna happen?
You've
What's
progressed well.
so
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So just start slow.
Yeah.
Your positive habits, your positive thoughts in your
Mhm.
back pocket because you will
Good.
need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I'm curious, we hear so much about fasting, like
Mhm.
intermittent fasting, or lately it's been the water fast. I'm curious your thoughts on that for helping people lose weight or kickstarting their weight loss journey. Is that safe, not safe?
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest with
Mhm.
you. Intermittent fasting actually there's a lot of studies out on intermittent fasting. And
Mhm.
so there's been a lot of beneficial things that have come out of
Yeah.
intermittent fasting, like you can
Mhm.
decrease your blood pressure, decrease your blood
Yeah.
sugar. Um, I find I've had clients, I've had coworkers who've done intermittent fasting and been so successful with that. And the reason being is that, like with intermittent fasting, you are decreasing your caloric intake, but
Mhm.
you're just choosing what time you like to eat. And
Yeah.
so there's some people who don't really particularly care for breakfast. They like, I don't like breakfast
Yep.
food. I don't want to eat in the morning. And that's fine. This is an alternative. You can start eating at noon and then you stop eating at 8. So you
Mhm.
do the 16-8 type model. And you're still eating every day, but you're restricting how much you're eating.
Yeah.
And then outside of it, once your time is off, you can still drink water. You can still drink some black coffee, not too much,
Mhm.
but some black
Yeah.
coffee and hot tea
Mhm.
without sugar.
Mhm.
So you can still be able to drink that the other time. So you're still kind of fasting, and then you go back to eating. So
Okay.
there, to say for the intermittent fasting, I do use that, and I do use that as a nutritional plan for those people
Okay.
who can maintain it. Some
Mhm.
people have to eat all 3 meals, and that is not
Yeah.
helpful because they're like, I can't wait till 12. I'm hungry. So you can always move it early. You just have to have
Mhm.
8 hours that you eat.
Oh.
But with the water fasting, There's not as many studies on that for it to be healthy. And
Mhm.
so I don't necessarily recommend it because it's not something you can be able to maintain.
Yeah.
So we can only maintain so long without, food and the sustenance. And so
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it would be a long-term type of nutritional
Right.
plan.
Okay.
Now, there are different types of intermittent fasting where
Yeah.
people may take a whole day and fast.
Mhm.
They may
Okay.
do the 24-hour day two
Mhm.
times out the week and eat the rest of the time.
Mhm.
That's fine. But if you're
Okay.
doing a water fasting where all you're drinking is water for a certain period of time, then that I don't think is healthy. And
Yeah.
that's not something that's sustainable. So
Yeah.
you want to kind of pick something that's sustainable that you can maintain. I'm going to be honest with
Yeah.
you. When I was in college, I had
Mhm.
lemonade diet where you're just basically drinking lemonade,
Oh
uh,
gosh.
and pepper. That's basically what it was, and some honey. And so I'm gonna tell you, by day 5, I thought I was about to die. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm so weak. When was this a good idea? I don't even think I made it to 7 days. Like, I think I made it 6 days. I weighed
Mhm.
myself, I lost weight, and I went back to eating and gained the weight back. So I don't recommend it because it's not sustainable. You
Yeah.
want to be able to have something that you can sustain and that you can continue
Yeah.
on, and that is more of your lifestyle. So that's
Yeah.
why I wouldn't recommend the water fasting, but
Mhm.
definitely with the intermittent fasting, whether it's the 16/8 or the
Mhm.
24 hours, or they do the 5 and 2 where you
Yeah.
eat for 5 days, you fast for 2. So
Mhm.
whatever plan that works better for you
Okay.
is fine, but something you need to be able to maintain. Mm.
Okay. No, that's wonderful. And I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but any further tips for the holiday season?
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, holidays are coming up. And did
Yeah.
you know that the average American gains 5 to 10 pounds of weight during the holidays? That really sucks. That really sucks.
That's a lot.
And now the holidays start from middle of October all the
Yep.
way to January. Like,
Mhm.
I was running around in my neighborhood. I'm like, people have their trees up already? I'm
Yeah. Yes. Mhm.
so but we start eating a lot with the candy for Halloween. We start, Thanksgiving. I don't know about you, but when I was cooking Thanksgiving dinner, I was like practicing my recipes ahead of time so that they we're good. So
Yes.
we're eating a little bit more. We're planning for our family to come in. And so the funny thing is that when we have family that come in, it's like we cook all 3 meals. Like, we're not
Mm.
just cooking for Thanksgiving Day, we're cooking for the time they're there. Like, they're having like full course
Oh
meals.
my.
Like, I may eat like some yogurt and a fruit for breakfast, but we're eating eggs. I'm from the South, so grits, biscuits,
Uh-huh.
so,
Yeah.
and then on top of that, now you're getting after Thanksgiving, now you're getting into Christmas, and
Mhm.
do they have the candy canes? Do they have the candy, the peppermints? Oh my goodness,
Fudge.
the fudge. They have
Yeah.
all these parties where people are like, hey, get some eggnog,
Yeah.
go have fun. And so before you know it, you're in that festive moment. You're not
Yeah.
thinking about eating right. You're not thinking about extra physical activity.
Yeah.
And before you know it, by New Year's, you're like, how much do I weigh? So
Yeah.
very easily to gain the weight. However, here are some tips that you can use to kind of
Mhm.
focus.
Yeah.
First thing is going to be mindset.
Mhm.
So, number one, remind yourself Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's are all just one day. Are all just,
Yes.
they're not weeks. They're just one day. Although there are four holidays in this like
Mhm.
last 3 months, it's
Mhm.
still only just one day. And so just because you may be eating a little bit more on Thanksgiving or a little bit more than usual on Christmas, it does not mess up your diet because you can do some things to kind of help balance it out.
Yeah.
Number one, you can actually go do some type of physical activity before you eat Thanksgiving. There's a lot wherever you are in your cities. They sometimes have like a 5K, the turkey trot, where you can go for a walk. I know in my city of Atlanta, they have like a 1 mile dash. Excuse me, they have a 5K, they have a half marathon. So you can kind of get all the things in
Mhm. Yeah.
before you eat. And so you kind of burnt off that calories by exercising before.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you don't have that where you live, no problem. You can be able to do some walking.
Mhm.
YouTube YouTube is great. You can go on to YouTube, just search exercises. You can do line dancing, you can do chair exercises, whatever it is that you need, just search and then 20-minute exercise. And then the third, so that's the thing. So do your exercise before. The next thing I would say is you choose what you eat. Just because they have a plethora of things on that table doesn't mean you have to eat it all. So you make that decision. You may like a little bit of mac and cheese. You may like a little bit of mashed potatoes. So you can take a small serving of it, but then have the rest of your plate as veggies. So when in your meat. So how I look at it, or when I talk to people about the healthy plate, when you're trying to lose weight, you want at least half of that plate to be veggies, because it's low calories, number one, and it has high fiber, so you feel full after eating it. And then you 1/4 as your protein, and then the 1/4 as your starch. So it's not like you have to deprive yourself of it. You're just eating less of it.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. So you don't, some people are like, but I really like that cake. You can have a small slice of cake. I never tell you that you can never eat cake again. No, you just moderation. You're just not eating the whole cake. You're not taking slices home. You're just like, let me eat this. Let me savor this. Let me enjoy this moment here with this in here. And we love like pecan pie, sweet potato pie, all these things out. We have a little slither and we enjoy it. And then we're like, okay, I'm done. The other tip I would say, I don't know about you, but I have family members who really mean well, but they be putting like thoughts in my head. They'll be like, they'll see my plate and they're like, is that it? Is that all you're eating? No, please. Let me just stick with this. Let me eat this first. And if I'm hungry, I'll go for second. So I always say, you can't, if you're going to somebody's house, you can't really say what you're going to eat there, but you may just want to use a small part of that plate to eat first. And then if you're full, then you stop. If you're hungry, then you can go back for seconds. So don't just like pile it on where you're like, it's like, this is a whole mound of food, because then you're going to be really, I don't know. I always were brought up with, you have to finish your plate, which is probably a great mindset. But so for me, I just eat small things on my plate. And then if I'll go back for seconds, but if you have that huge mound, you're going to feel bad about like wasting food, So I always say, get a smaller plate, get a saucer plate if you can, and then just use that as your trip. So in your mind, you're filling the plate, but it's just a smaller plate. And don't, feel free to go back for seconds if you're really still hungry, truly hungry. One way how I figure out, am I hungry or not, is that I'll put my fork down and I'll just sit back and just continue to talk. And if I'm still hungry, then I'll finish eating and then I'll go for seconds. But if I'm not hungry, then I'm just sitting here.
Awesome.
Take it home.
Yeah. Well, that's great. You're separating yourself from your plate a little bit and just like, okay, just pause. Let's see. Let the body do its work.
Sometimes we eat, and we're not allowing our body to tell us that, oh, we're hungry. We override that hunger cue.
Absolutely.
The one thing I would say too is maybe not drinking fluids when you're eating. Like just separating your fluids, just so that, you're not necessarily, people are like, I gotta wash it down. Not necessarily. Your body's creating saliva to bring the food down, and you don't need a drink or a glass.
Interesting.
But, by at least separating it, you can kind of know, am I still hungry, or am I just full because I just drank, a whole glass of punch. And then now I'm, eating the food. So I would kind of separate it from the drinking as well.
Oh, that's great. So this is fabulous information. I know you have a course online, a free course online. You also have a podcast as well, Back on Track, Overcoming Weight Regain podcast. So how can people learn more about it so they can learn more from you, basically?
Yes. So the free course is kind of my Back on Track Kickstart course. So if you're somebody who's kind of been, I know what I need to do, I just need to do it, and you need some help, this course is for you. We talk about some of the healthy principles that I speak about today, but we go into more detail to kind of help you to kind of get back on track with your weight loss. And then I just recently changed the name of the podcast to Back on Track, Achieving Healthy Weight Loss, because we want this to all be healthy. We're not yo-yo diets to get you losing weight and then bringing it back. No,
Yeah.
we are talking about long-term weight
Good.
loss and helping you to maintain and to continue continue on with your journey.
Yeah.
So definitely feel free to check it out where all the podcasts that wherever you listen to your podcast.
Yeah.
And we have great stories, great people who are able to kind of just give you more inspiration and knowledge so that you can continue to on your weight loss journey.
That's great. And what is the website that people can go to for you?
Yes, please go to Dr. Shelly, MD, DrShelly.com.
Okay.
And there you'll see the free course. We also have an ebook too to kind of get back on track, and then the podcast as well.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time. This has been such a great information session, and I know our listeners are going to really appreciate it, especially right this time of the year. So I really thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
I'm glad to hear that. You're very energetic and you have great energy. So thank you so much. And thank you all for watching today and listening in. So we will see you next weekend. Have a great rest of your weekend. Take care now. Bye.